Ram. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Danut pranams to all the devotees. Thank you all for joining in. Just finished, completed one round of chanting. There's some problem with the internet. So we'll go on now with the study of our book, Beyond Birth and Death. Before that, we'll start with the prayers. Om Anantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So today we are continuing to read from chapter 2 of this book, Beyond Birth and Death. The chapter is entitled Elevation at Death. So we were seeing how Prabhupada was giving the example of how we have 1 year to prepare for our academic examination, right? First standard, we have 1 year, we prepare for the exam. And then second standard, 1 year like that. Second, third, fourth, fifth, like that. So we reached until the 10th standard. So every year we have 1 year in preparation, and then the exam is there. If we pass the exam, we go to the next class. Otherwise, repeat the same class, isn't it? So Prabhupada is explaining here how our life examination is also very similar, except that we have the entire life for preparation and death is the examination, right? If we don't perfect our lives, then we will get another body. According to our desires and interests and activities, we will get another body. Again, we will continue our journey. If we practice bhakti, at least we'll be assured of a human form of life, wherein we will continue from whatever level of bhakti we've attained, right? If we attain 60% bhakti, we'll continue from 61% like that, right? But if you are fortunate, if we have spent our entire life trying to remember Krishna in all circumstances, then Prabhupada mentions whatever we've remembered throughout our life, we will remember at the time of death. And if we remember Krishna at the time of death, then that is a perfection of human form of life. Okay, so let's continue reading from chapter 2. So here we are saying, we'll just read what Prabhupada said. If we practice during our lives for the examination at the time of death, and if we pass the examination, we are transferred to the spiritual world. Our whole life is examined at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyanta kalevaram tam me vaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavitaha. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So we're discussing how whatever we've been remembering, whatever we've been taking shelter of throughout our life, that is what we will remember at the time of death. So that is the importance. That is why it is important to always remember Krishna. Never forget Krishna in this life, like that. Okay, Karpagavalli Mataji, go ahead. There is a Bengali proverb from there.
Oh my God. There is a Bengali.
Yes, can you unmute yourself?
Yes, Mataji. Yes, Mataji, can you hear me audible?
Yeah, there is a Bengali proverb. No, Mataji, your voice is breaking. Okay, so let me read.
Proverb
there is a Bengali proverb that says that whatever one does for perfection will be tested at the time of his death. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes what one should do when giving up the body. For the Dhyana Yogi meditator, Sri Krishna speaks the following verses. Yadaksharam Veda Vido Vadanti Vishanti Yadyatayo Vitaragaha Yadichantu Brahmacharyam Charanti Tatte Padam Sangrahena Pravakshe Sarva Dvarani Samyamya Mano Hridhi Nirudhyacha Murdhyadhayatmana Pranam Astito Yoga Dharanam. Persons learned in the Vedas who utter Omkara and who are great sages in renounced order enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. Okay, we read this also. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagements. We discussed this. Param Drishtva Nivartate. How can we give up our attachment to lower sense gratification only when we rise ourselves to the taste of bhakti. When we get higher taste, right? When we have a nice, delicious, ripe mango, we don't want to go for this raw mango, right? Which is not tasting very, very nice. So when we have a higher taste, then we will be able to give up the lower taste. Otherwise, it is not possible. Okay. So I think we did complete all of this. Yeah. So what was the last one? This is a very cumbersome and impractical method. What is a cumbersome, impractical method? Yeah. So going to the various planetary systems by taking a spaceship or a spacesuit, etc., and trying to go to each of the other planets, to the moon or to the sun planet, etc. Prabhupada is saying is it's not practical. It's not a mechanical way by which you can go to these planets. So we're discussing about yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitravrataha bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti mad yajino bhimam, where Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita how if you worship the demigods, you will go to the demigods planets. If you worship the forefathers, you will go to the forefathers planets. If you worship ghosts and spirits, you will go to them. And Krishna says, if you worship me, you will come to me. So that is the way. Yeah, Karpakavali Mataji, there is some disturbance, Mataji. Your voice is lagging, and that's why I was reading myself, so I can see two people have raised their hands. Okay. So what was I saying? Yeah. So even now the Chandrayaan mission and everything is happening. If people want to go to the other planets, but they want to employ material objects like a spaceship or a space suit, etc., to go to these various planets. But Krishna tells in Bhagavad Gita, what is the way in which you can go to these different planetary systems? If you worship that particular the Vasi or the whoever is residing in those planets, and you please them, then you'll be able to go there. And then what is the best planet that Krishna says? The best planet Krishna says is Krishna Loka. So worship me and come back to me. That's what Krishna is saying here, right? And then Prabhupada is also saying it is not possible to go beyond the material universe by mechanical means, right? It's not possible to go even beyond the Bhuloka by material means, right? Even if you have to go to Swarga Loka, right? Yanti Deva Vrata Deva. You have to worship the Devatas. You have to please them. That is why we can go there, right? We cannot artificially take a helicopter or a plane and then go somewhere and then we claim that we've gone to the heavenly planets, right? Prabhupada mentions in another book, Easy Journey to Other Planets, right? He says that people must have gone to some Arizona desert, right? Because whatever they're showing in the pictures is all darkness. So how can you say that, and why have they come back? Right? Prabhupada also gives an example in one of his lectures that if I go to the United States, but I'm not admitted there, then what happens? They will divert me back to my home country, which is India. So although I am in United States, right, but still I am not there. I'm not allowed to get out of the airport, isn't it? They'll be sending me back. So that's what Prabhupada said is mostly happening to all these people who claim to go to the moon planet, to various planets. They go there, Mars planet, etc. They go there, but they're not allowed entry inside. So they come back. So they think they have gone there. They take some pictures outside, but it is all dark. And that cannot be a representation of the moon planet or the Mars planet, because Prabhupada says there is life in every planet, right? To say that just because we cannot survive in fire, we cannot say that there is no life in fire, right? We know that Krishna gave this Bhagavad Gita knowledge to Vivaswan, who's the sun god, who's staying in the sun planet. So there are people or there are living entities in every planetary system. But if you have to go to those planetary systems, you should know the way of going there by worshipping those people who are staying in those planets, and not by taking mechanical means to go to those planets. All right. So let's move forward. Yeah, Shobha Mataji, go ahead. The generally accepted method.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. The generally accepted method for transfer to higher planets is the practice of the meditational yoga system or jnana system. The bhakti yoga system, however, is not to be practiced for transfer to any material planet for those who are servants of Krishna, the Supreme Lord, or not interested in any planets in this material world, because they know that on whatever planets one enters in the material sky, the four principles of birth, old age, longer than on this earth, but death is there nonetheless. By material universe, we refer to those planets where birth, old age, disease, and death reside, and by spiritual universe, we refer to those planets where there is no birth, old age, disease, and death. Those who are intelligent do not try to elevate themselves to any planet within the material universe.
So, Brahma, Bhuvana Loka, Punaravartino Arjuna. Even if you go to Brahma Loka, you have to come back to this material world. And then what is Prabhupada is also saying, material universe means we are living in a kunta. Kunta means there is always this birth, death, disease, old age. Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. But when you go to the spiritual world, it's called Vaikunta. That means there is no kunta, there is no anxiety. There is no birth, death, disease, and old age. That's why we want to go back. An intelligent person does not try to elevate himself within the material universe, but rather he tries to go to that place where there is no Janma, Mrityu, Jara, and Yadi, like that. Okay. Yes, Mataji. Shobha Mataji, continue.
If one, Hare Krishna, if one tries to enter the higher planets by mechanical means, instant death is assured, for the body cannot stand the radical changes in atmosphere. But if one attempts to go to the higher planets by means of yoga system, he will acquire a suitable body for entrance. We can see this demonstrated on this earth, for we know it is not possible for us to live in the sea, in a watery atmosphere, nor in it's possible for aquatics to live on earth. As we understand that even on this planet, one has to have a particular type of body to live in a particular place. So a particular type of body is required for other planets. On the higher planets, bodies live much longer than on earth. For 6 months on earth is equal to 1 day on the higher planets. Thus the Vedas describe that those who live on higher planets live upwards to 10,000 years, earth years. Yet despite such a long lifespan, death awaits everyone. Even if one lives 20,000 and 50,000 or even millions of years in the material world, the years are all counted and death is there. How can we escape this subjugation of by death? That is the lesson of Bhagavad Gita. Na jayate
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Dandat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Dandat Pranam. Okay, so very beautiful point Prabhupada is bringing here. Just because we cannot stay in the ocean, right? We cannot say that there is no life in the ocean, right? We know that aquatics, fishes, they all remain 24 hours in water and they're still living, right? Similarly, a fish cannot stay in earth, in the land for, not even for a few seconds. If the fish is taken out of the water, the fish will die, right? Similarly, when we are inside the water, so say for 5 hours, 6 hours, after that, we cannot stay in the water. That does not mean that there cannot be living entities staying in the ocean, and vice versa. If the fish thinks that, oh, since I cannot stay in the earth, where there is no water, there cannot be any life there. If the fish were to think like that, it is a fish's foolishness. And if we were to think that there is no life or there is no living entity living in the water, because I cannot stay in the water perennially, that means it is my foolishness, right? So Prabhupada next goes on to say that just because we don't have an experience, that we have not seen life in certain planets, right? Just because we cannot, like if you put a hand in the fire, our hand is immediately burnt. That does not mean we think that in some planet there will be no life, right? Each one of us have got the suitable body in which we are staying in the particular universe that we have been assigned according to our karma and according to our activities and according to our desires. Does not mean life does not exist in other planets. Life exists in every planet, right? And then now Prabhupada goes on to say about the distinction between the soul and the body. Who is going to read? Sumati Mataji, go ahead. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचिन् नायं भूत्वा भविता वा न भूयाः अजो नित्यः शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Yes, Mataji, go ahead. Hare Krishna. Sumati Mataji, you have to unmute yourself. Hari bol.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams, Mataji.
Dandavat, Mataji.
For the soul, there is never birth nor death, nor once having been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Gita 2.20. We are spirit soul, and as such we are eternal. Why then should we subject ourselves to birth and death? One who asks this question is to be considered intelligent. Those who are Krishna conscious are very intelligent because they are not interested in gaining entrance to any planet where there is death. They will reject a long duration of life in order to attain a body like God's. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Sat means eternal, Chit means full of knowledge, and Ananda means full of pleasure. Krishna is the reservoir of all pleasure. If we transfer ourselves from this body into the spiritual world, either to Krishna Loka, Krishna's planet, or any other spiritual planet, we will receive a similar Satchidananda body. Thus, the aim of those who are in Krishna consciousness is different from those who are trying to promote themselves to higher planets within this material world. Should I continue, Mataji?
Yeah. So here, yes, Mataji, you can continue. I just want to add here that Prabhupada is saying the aim, that is what is important, right? What is our aim in whatever we are doing, right? If you are appearing for an IIT exam, that means what is our aim? To pass that exam, right? Similarly, those of us who are devotees or practicing Krishna consciousness, what is our aim? Our aim is not to promote ourselves to higher planets within this universe, but our aim is to go back to Krishna Loka, right? Not even any other spiritual planet, right? Because in every other spiritual planet also there is Seva Bhav. In Vaikuntha also Lakshmis are serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But that Madhurya Bhav or the sweetness of the relationship with Krishna is there only in Goloka Vrindavan Dham. That's why a devotee tries to go back home, back to Godhead, where he can serve the Lord in association with the Lord eternally. Yes, Mataji, go ahead. The self or soul. Okay, you need to unmute yourself again. Yes.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. The self or soul of the individual is a minute spark. The perfection of yoga lies in the transferal of this spiritual spark to the top of the head. Having attained this, the yogi can transfer himself to any planet in the material world according to his desire. If the yogi is curious to know what the moon is like, he can transfer himself there. Or if he is interested in higher planets, he can transfer himself there, just as travelers go to New York, Canada, or other cities on the earth. Wherever one goes on earth, he finds the same visa and customs system operating. And on all the material planets, one can similarly see the principles of birth, old age, disease, and death operating. Om,
yeah, go ahead.
Om iti ekaksharam brahma. At the point of death, the yogi can pronounce Om, Omkara, the concise form of transcendental sound vibration. If the yogi can vibrate this sound and at the same time remember Krishna or Vishnu, Ma Manusmaran, he attains the highest goal. It is the process of yoga to concentrate the mind on Vishnu. The impersonalists imagine some form of the Supreme Lord, but the personalists do not imagine this. They actually see. Whether one imagines him or actually sees him, one has to concentrate his mind on the personal form of Krishna. Ananya Cheta Satatam.
Hare Krishna. Mataji, thank you. So, Vadanti Tattva Vidas Tattvam Yajnanam Advayam Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavan Iti Shabdyate, right? So, there are three levels of understanding of the Supreme Lord that's given here. And we all know what is the highest form of understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which is the personal form of the Lord, right? In Isha Upanishad also we are, the prayers talk about how Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Pitam Mukam. The effulgence of the Lord is actually covering his lotus face, right? Satyasya Pitam Mukam Tattvam Pushan Napavranu Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye, right? Satya Dharmaya, that means I want to see the form or the lotus face of the Supreme Absolute Truth. And what is this effulgence doing? This effulgence is actually covering it. That is why the impersonalists, when they want to see the Lord also, they are only seeing the effulgence part of it, because that is how they have trained their mind. That the highest kind of liberation is to actually merge with the impersonal Brahman. So when the impersonalists, even when they want to see the Lord, they see this impersonal effulgence and then they want to merge into it. But what is the process of yoga? Yoga always talks about two different people, right? Yoga means connection between two different things. When I understand that I am a part and parcel of Krishna and Krishna is the Supreme Lord, then through the process of Bhakti Yoga, I'm going to connect with the Supreme Lord and not merge, right? In Isha Upanishad also we have this, what is that? Unity in interest. It's not unity in terms of merging with each other, right? The living entity will always retain his identity, and the Lord will always retain his identity. By way of connection, by way of yoga, what are we going to do? We are going to link with the Lord in the mode of service. Now we're going to unite with the Lord in interest. We are going to unite with the Lord in service. We're going to unite with the Lord in pursuing the interest of the Lord. So there is unity in interest and not unity in terms of merging. That's what is given here. Right? Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityasaha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Right? When one somebody I was hearing whose lecture, I just forgot, maybe some time back I was hearing it. Right? When he was saying that when for example, when our near or dear one is not here, say they've gone for some work or they've even every day, let's say our daughter goes to school. Right? So during the day, that 4 or 5 hours when she's not here, when we look at the other things, when we look at her toys or when we look at her books or when we look at her frock or when we look at her dress, etc., we remember the daughter, isn't it? Similarly, when we are practicing devotional service, right, when we are chanting Hare Krishna or when we are addressing the deities, we are performing Abhishek, we are cooking for the Lord, etc., we are actually thinking about the Lord. In that case, we are actually in union with the Lord. Actually, physically, we are not seeing the Lord, or the Lord is not sitting before us. Just like our child, when we are seeing her dress or when we are folding her clothes, just going and keeping in the cupboard, we are thinking about our daughter. But the daughter is not here. But still, we feel connected to the daughter, right? Because we are serving the daughter in one way or the other, doing some service, cooking food for her. When she comes back, I will give this to her because she likes it like that. So the connection is there. Similarly, even though the Lord is there always in front of us, in the form of Archa Vigraha, in the form of the holy name. But when we are engaging in the process of devotional service, we are linking ourselves with the Lord through the form of devotional service, through the remembrance of the Lord. And that is the unity and interest that we're talking about. Because we want to serve the Lord, and the Lord says that is the best way to remember me, by serving me without deviation. In that way, we are united in interest with the Lord. That's what it means. Okay, so someone else can continue reading. Anyone else wants to read? Okay. Ananya cheta satatam yomam smarati nityashaha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yoginaha. For one who remembers me without deviation, I'm easy to obtain. Oh, son of Pratha, because of this constant engagement in devotional service. This is Gita 8.14. Okay. Now, Kishori Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you. Those who are satisfied with a temporary life, temporary pleasure and temporary facilities are not to be considered intelligent, at least not according to the Bhagavad Gita. According to the Gita, one whose brain substance is very small is interested in temporary things. We are eternal, so why should we be interested in temporary things? No one wants a non-permanent situation. If we are living we are living in an apartment and the landlord asks us to vacate. We are sorry, but we are not sorry if we move into a better apartment. If it is our nature, because we are permanent, to want a permanent residence. We don't wish to die because actually we are permanent, nor do we want to grow old or be diseased, because these are all external or not permanent states. Although we are not meant to suffer from fever. Sometimes fever comes and we have to take precautions and remedies to get well again. The fourfold miseries are like a fever, and they are all due to the material body. If somehow we can get out of the material body, we can escape the miseries that are integral with it. Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. So if we get out of the material body, then automatically whatever is miseries are along with the material body, we will get out of it, right? So here Prabhupada gives a very beautiful example of a fever, right? When we have fever, what do? We just go to the doctor, we get some medicines, and then we get cured of the fever, right? Not just the symptoms, right? Sometimes we have the temperature increases, but we don't take, sometimes you just take one antibiotic and then, the fever comes down. And then again, in another 1 or 2 days, again, the fever occurs. And when something like that happens, what do? We go to the doctor. We identify what is the root cause. And then when the doctor gives us medicines, Then when we get cured, then it does not relapse. It does not come back again. So that is what is mentioned here, right? So we have this Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, right? Because of that, see, for example, old age, right? We have our white hairs coming out. What do? Some people do dye their hair nicely, becomes black. But is that a cure? Is that a solution? No. After some time, after the effect of the dye is over, again the white hairs come. So what is that? It's just a temporary measure. It is just a kind of a polish that we are doing. It is not actually cure the root, right? Because we are getting old, the symptoms will show now or later, right? So we need not address the symptoms, but we need to address the root cause. If we don't want to get old, if we don't want to die, if we don't want to get into another mother's womb again, then what are we supposed to do? We have to train ourselves to come to a condition where we are not going to again take up a material body, right? That is the ultimate solution. So then if we do that, if we get a spiritual body, then we automatically escape all the miseries that are actually assigned or attached to this material body. So that's what it is. Okay. So who else wants to read? Karpagavalli Mataji, you want to try? But I believe your network is not okay. A lot of drag is there. You want to try? Or anyone else wants to read? Your Mataji, very bad sound, Mataji, actually. Okay, fine. Someone else can read. Yeah, Shobha Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Mataji. For the impersonalist to go out of the temporary body, Krishna here advises that they vibrate the syllable Om. In this way, they can be assured of transmigration into the spiritual world. However, although they may enter the spiritual world, they cannot enter into any of the planets there. They remain outside in the Brahma Jyoti. The Brahma Jyoti may be compared to the sunshine, and the spiritual planet may be compared to the sun itself. In the spiritual sky, the impersonalists remain in the effulgence of the Supreme Lord, the Brahma Jyoti. The impersonalists are placed in the Brahma Jyoti as spiritual sparks, and in this way, the Brahma Jyoti is filled with spiritual sparks. This is what is meant by emerging into the Brahma Jyoti. In the sense of becoming one with it, the individual of the spiritual spark is retained, but because the impersonal
you left one line in between. It should not be considered
that one merges into the Brahma Jyoti in the sense of becoming one with it. The individual of the spiritual spark is retained, but because the impersonalist does not want to take the personal form, he is found as spiritual spark in that effulgence. Just as the sunshine is composed of so many atomic particles, so the Brahma Jyoti is composed of so many spiritual sparks. However, as living entities, we want enjoyment. Being in it itself is not enough. We want bliss, ananta, as well as being sat. In this entirety, the living entity is composed of three qualities: eternity, knowledge, and bliss. Those who enter impersonally into the Brahma Jyoti can remain there for some time in full knowledge that they are not merged homogeneously with Brahman, but they cannot have that eternal ananta bliss because that part is wanting. One may remain alone in a room for some time and may enjoy himself by reading a book or engaging in some thoughts, but it is not possible to remain in that room for years and years at a time, and certainly not for all eternity. Therefore, for one who merges impersonally into the existence of Supreme, there is every chance of falling down again into the material world in order to acquire some association. This is the verdict of Srimad Bhagavatam. Astronauts may travel thousands and thousands of miles, but if they do not find rest on some planet, they have to return again to Earth. In this case, rest is required. In the impersonal form, rest is uncertain. Therefore, Srimad Bhagavatam says that even after so much endeavor, if the impersonalist enters into the spiritual world and acquires an impersonal form, he returns again to the material world because of neglecting to serve the Supreme Lord in love and devotion. As long as we are here on earth, we must learn to practice to love and serve Krishna, the Supreme Lord. If we learn this, we can enter into the spiritual planet. Impersonalist position is the spiritual world is non-permanent, for out of loneliness, he will attempt to acquire some association. Because he does not associate personally with the Supreme Lord, he has to return again to the world and associate with conditioned living entities there. It is
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Okay, so we'll stop here. This is very important. We've already discussed this a couple of times, right? Sat, Chit, and Ananda. Brahman realization only gives us the understanding of Sat. That means eternality of the soul. That is what one understands. And he wants to, he desires to merge with the Brahma Jyoti, because Brahma Jyoti is also eternal, right? So that Sat feature is understood. But the next feature, which is Chit, which means the knowledge of I am a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, that is understood only in the Paramatma feature of the Lord is understood. That means one understands that the Lord is there as super soul in every living entity. He is there in me, he is there in every jiva, right? And then he tries to meditate on the Paramatma form of the Lord. He just tries to see the Lord within his heart like that. So this knowledge is there. That is the Sat, then Chit. However, the Bhagavan aspect, or understanding the Lord is has a personal form like me, but the Lord is Sat, Chit, and Ananda in unlimited form, whereas I am Sat, Chit, and Ananda, but a very minuscule form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When we know that Jivera Swarupe Krishna Nitya Das, Mameva Amsha Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha, right? I am an Amsha of the Lord, and it is my duty to serve the Lord. So unless I do that service to the Lord, I cannot experience bliss, right? I may merge into the effulgence of the Lord. But here also, like Prabhupada is mentioning, right? We cannot stay inside a room and probably for some time we may enjoy hearing music or, dancing alone or reading a book alone with nobody around. But we cannot eternally stay like that. We need association of people. We need to talk to people, serve people, share something with people. We cannot stay alone all the time. Similarly, in the Brahman effulgence, when we are merging, we are all alone. There is no hankering, there is no lamentation, but there is no bliss also. Because of that, they get bored, they get frustrated because of no activity, and then they fall down to the material world. Again, they have to understand the Bhagavan realization. And only when the Bhagavan realization is attained, can a person move towards the spiritual world or even to the Vaikuntha planets where there is service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And only that service can actually give us the bliss that we're always hankering for. That is why Sat and Chit, although in the spiritual realm, will not give us our desired Ananda, will not give us the desired bliss that will enable us to stay there forever, right? We have to come back to this material world. All right, so here we will stop. If anyone has any questions, you can raise your hands. Otherwise, we can have darshan of the devotees, and then we'll do Harinam Sankirtan, and then we'll close. Nama Om Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatyadi Shatadine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranikai Jaya Gauranikai Jaya Gauranikai Jaya Gauranikai Jaya Jaya Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Bala Gopal Bala Gopal Jaya Bala Gopal Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Gurudev, Gurudev, Nitai, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Koti Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru Sri Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai ho. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai ho. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So everyone can mute themselves now. In case of any questions or any comments, we can take that now. Otherwise, we'll meet tomorrow morning for Brahma Murta chanting, and then again in the afternoon for Prabhupada book study. Anyone
Hare
wants to
Krishna
share anything?
Mataji, in Chennai we have this Tamil Gita. So every week we have home satsang. So this time
Okay.
I was blessed to attend one of the home satsang and had a flower mala decoration service. I felt very happy, Mataji. Because of all your association, I got this opportunity. Thank you, Mataji. Hari Bol.
By the grace of Guru and Gauranga and all the devotees. Yeah, when we are regular, then Krishna will know our sincerity. We'll get a lot of opportunities to do service. And in this way, when we do more service, then we'll get more mercy. And that is the cycle we want to be in, right? Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande.